And when we step back, what we noticed across the hundreds of publications in the study, including our own publications in the last 15 years at that point, was that there was a lot of findings about the importance of relationships. So here's some examples. If we're trying to predict psychological and physical health in people's 80s, the best predictor from our study is the quality of their primary relationship in their 50s, at midlife. It's not their cholesterol level. It's not whether they came from inner city Boston or had the benefit of going to Harvard. It's not how much money they're making. It was the quality of their intimate relationships in their 50s. If we look at the ratings, and this is incredible to me, the ratings that were done by the psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers that visited those 724 homes in the 1930s and observed the interactions between the kids and their parents, those ratings predict how well people relate to their partner in their 80s. So late life intimacy, it also relates to how well they cope with adversity in midlife. Time spent each day is linked with happiness. We're happiest on days when we spend time with others, a finding that's been replicated in many other studies. And the quality of our intimate relationships late in life predicts our brain health a few years later. So we follow people after assessing the quality of their intimate relationships, and people remember things better 3 years later if they have a high quality intimate relationship. The challenge was, can we come up with a simple sentence that gives the conclusion of the book? And we did, and we're pretty proud of this sentence. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier throughout the lifespan. It's as simple as that. We can end the talk, you can go home. It's that simple. I underline healthier because maybe that's the part that's more surprising there, but both parts of it are true. And before anyone starts asking me what I mean by relationships, for now I mean all kinds of relationships. Could be intimate partners, it could be friends, it could be the person who delivers your mail. All types of relationships matter, and I'm going to try and say why. So I'm going to start with a kind of gross first example. This is a wound healing study. So what they did is they took a pencil-sized piece of skin off of people's forearm, just like you can see in the depiction here. And they were interested in how quickly those wounds heal. And they followed people every day. They took pictures and they kind of scientifically rated the rate of healing in those wounds. On average, it takes about 3 weeks for wounds like this to heal, sometimes a little longer. People who were in high conflict marriages or highly dissatisfying marriages, those wounds took substantially longer to heal. How much longer? About 25 to 30% longer to heal. If you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's or other disabling conditions, those wounds take longer to heal. So these are examples of how relationships literally get under our skin and affect our physical health. And we can talk more about the mechanisms, but there's a lot of research about how this happens. If I asked you what factors predict premature death, what are the most important physical factors? You would probably come up with this list. And before I show you the list, I want to note this is a study of studies. So it's 148 studies from around the world across time. It's not just the Boston study of the 724, originally all men. 308,000 participants we're talking about across these studies. So from the bottom, I don't know how well you can see it, hypertension is in there, high blood pressure, obesity is a risk factor. The width of those orange bars tells us how much of a risk they are. Go up a little bit higher, physical activity or the absence of physical activity is a risk factor. Alcohol consumption, this is high levels of consumption, and smoking are risk factors. So that would be the list I expect most of you would be able to provide for us. What's missing from this list are really the top predictors. Social connections measured in almost any way that you could imagine. How many friends do you have? Do you have people in your life who support you? Are there people you can depend on? Are you happy with the nature of the support that you get? Social support, social connection turns out to be an important predictor. Depending on which way you want to phrase it, either the absence is an important predictor of premature dying, or the presence of support helps us live longer. And the width of those bars for the social predictors is as strong as smoking 15 cigarettes a day or being obese. So if we think about social connection as important as moving our bodies, as important as stopping smoking, as important as moderating our drinking, that's a motivating factor. That in itself motivates us. But you're right that we all have obstacles. So some of us were lucky enough to grow up in homes where we were loved and cared for and we had a sense of security. And others grew up in homes where it was very hard to trust others. And the experience of being vulnerable was a painful one. So we suggest reflection. That's a kind of critical step, reflecting on your current circumstances, thinking back earlier in your life, and also thinking forward in your life. Where do you want to be? So you're 42, Sam. Where do you want to be when you're 62? Yeah, what's important to you? I'm 62. Where do I want to be in 10 years? What's critical to me? So the process of reflection and being proactive is really critical.
In the book, you talk about eudaimonia and hedonia. If I understand it right, hedonia is hedonic, immediate pleasure, drag of a cigarette, whereas eudaimonia is more meaning and purpose. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. My question is, we often think of them as in conflict. Is there any chance that they can play nice together? And to Jen's question that has gotten 3 upvotes, it seems relevant in the context of this because she asked, generally speaking, are people who have children happier? And I would imagine that the question might be answered differently, whether you're thinking about eudaimonia or hedonia.
Yeah. I'm looking at our time. This is a really great question, like really interesting. I teach about this a lot. So one reason we want to think about these differences, hedonia, let's think about it as joy and pleasure versus a sense of meaning and purpose, is that really what we should be chasing is meaning and purpose and a sense that life is good. That's the key part. So, people think about our book and think about us as happiness experts, but happiness is fleeting. And life isn't all about that fleeting hedonic sense of joy and pleasure in the moment. It's hard to live life fully without experiencing sadness and the other negative emotions that come with it. So critical for us in thinking about long-term goals, we want to be satisfied. We want to have a sense of purpose and meaning. And I think becoming a parent is a really good example. So I've studied the process of becoming a parent. It's pretty clear that marital satisfaction declines when you have a child. Every study shows that. Studies that I've been involved show that. Our study, we see that as well. That decline tends to stop when kids leave the nest. Also, it's true. We have data that shows that that's true. But it's really not the kid. It's about the responsibilities that you have. It's the sleepless nights. It's the worry that you have as a first-time parent. And that provides also an incredible sense of meaning and purpose. So being a parent, probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life, probably the most gratifying and huge sense of purpose and meaning. I'm traveling. I happen to hear from one of my sons today. It's always nice, particularly when you're traveling. So yeah, important to separate out those ideas. And really the big picture is we're looking for a satisfaction overall with life and a sense of meaning and purpose. That's what keeps us going, getting us up in the morning.